Hello and welcome to Deliver More, the Industrial Coatings Talk Show, brought to you by the team here at Florigistics. Thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you. It's been a while. I am joined today on our episode by Chris Lord.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chris. Very formal. And Mike Patterson. Mike, good to see you, bud.
Gentlemen, hello.
Hello. Well, it's kind of a critical topic that we're addressing here today on Deliver More. It's what we're calling our Estimators episode. And estimators, if you're in our business, really kind of drive the finances of a lot of these companies that we work with and interact with. And we wanted to take a closer look at what estimators do. So, Mike, for folks who don't know, can you tell us what an estimator does? And also, is this a role that every company that you work with has?
You know, Nick, it's really interesting because I think when I've been doing this over the course of my career and being in this world, I spend a lot of my time focusing on the sales and the marketing efforts and the application elements of the Teflon coatings. And there's a role that lives in between all that, and that's the estimator. The person has to be somewhat related to the sales end of the world and also into the operations end of the world, because ultimately they're responsible to create quotes and do the RFQs of incoming customer proposals, so to speak. So they really have to have a strong understanding of what these parts are, how they're going to be processed, and then how to price that accordingly to keep the money flowing and jobs coming in and money coming in into the company, which is why it has such an important impact on the finances. And I think part two of your question was, is this always a role in every company? There's always a person doing this, but I think what Chris and I have seen over our careers is some coders don't always have a dedicated estimator. Many times it's a salesperson who are doing these quotes. Sometimes it's the owner. So it just depends on the organization and the depth of people in the organization, but it's something that happens everywhere.
Okay, so it might be somebody who's wearing a lot of hats, but maybe put your answering hat on then, because why is this such a big deal? Because it certainly sounds like it is.
Well, I mean, it's obviously sales are the lifeblood of the organization, but you can quote too low, which is a huge risk because if you quoted too low, maybe you forgot something in the process that was a key component that was going to drive costs up. And that's why that guy jumped at you, because I can't believe we're going to do this job for next to nothing.
Okay.
Or you have the guy that quotes too high all the time. And unfortunately, quoting too high, you're just not going to get a lot of jobs. And you're going to be walking through an empty shop.
Okay.
Spend a lot of your time doing that. So.
Yeah, we've seen times where we've been with one customer and they're almost laughing that someone else quoted so low on a job because they didn't realize that there was a lot of potential extra work that may not be on the prints or may not be on the official documentation. So it's almost like one of those things, Nick, when you see a job that's been around the horn for 5, 10, 20 years, and now it's back out for bid, you almost have to wonder why it's back out for bid. And is it a problem with like the environment change or is it that maybe it's a problem customer and they're very demanding?
Turnaround time issues, the processor that had it, they quote every job low, so their shop's full of material, they can't get to everything. Okay. So now it's like I can't stand, having to wait for my parts, so I'm going to shop it back around again, type of scenario.
Very well said. Now, in our pre-show meetings and our planning meetings, this was one that you guys wanted to focus on. It's kind of like a timely topic. Why is that? Why is it such a timely topic?
Well, I think there's a couple things that came to light, and one is that we did some training, some on-site training, like similar to I3, at a customer's facility, and it was strictly for some new estimators they had. And so I think that's what really brought it to light to Chris and I, is that, wow, this role really requires a lot of product knowledge, a lot of just costing knowledge, a lot of operational knowledge, part engineering knowledge, and so I think the people that are probably best at this are people that have a lot of experience in a lot of different things. And so they understand metallurgy and all these other things that help them spot potential problems when a new job is coming in the door. So I think that really opened our eyes. And then there's like there's happens with every industry in a mature market, there's turnover. So as new people are coming into these roles, we thought it was a good time to throw some of these points out to just put some things in people's mind about doing estimating specifically for Teflon.
Okay.
And you have people, Teflon's been around for 85 years, so you do have some people that are retiring out just from age, but you also have something that's gotten a little more common where coating companies are being taken over by other companies that have been using that customer for years, and then they're like, you know what, I'm just going to grab their coating process and I'm going to coat for myself. But they bring people in who really don't know much about coding at all.
Okay.
So they're not relearning; they're learning it for the first time.
All right.
So
Nice. Well, this one is really audience focused. As we're going through the planning stages, we're thinking about who's out there, and we want to make sure that you get more wins so that you can buy more Teflon. Obviously, right? Wolf, I want to keep going with you if I could. Walk me through a typical day, a typical afternoon in the life of an estimator. What's that like?
Well, they get requests for quotes, and you get some requests which are, real general and basic. Somebody looked up Teflon because they were having a problem, because Teflon's a problem solver. So they'll call and say, I need like Teflon on this, and there's no development around that. They just so you have to go through the whole, what are the problems that you're having, and walk through that situation before you even get into a job costing situation, which is a whole second component. Because you got to know, you got to ask for do you have a drawing of the part? Do you have how many do you have? Is it going to be a bunch? Is it just one? Because I know a lot of shops out there, Mike can concur, they have minimums. If you just have one part, and it might be as big as my phone, it's $500. Yeah, I mean, it's just because that's just how they do business. I mean, because if you want me to research all this and do all this work for one part, it's going to cost you.
Okay.
So, but then you have the other side of the coin, which is fully specified coding system, has been tossed around for 40, 50 years, and that. A lot of the, definition of what coding do they need and all that stuff has already been done. It may have been tested, validated, whatever. This is more a job costing situation with that phone call, because, again, you have to get an understanding of, what's the volume, what is, what's the coding that's going on there, how often are you going to send me pieces? Is it going to be batch work, or are you sending me all million pieces at one time, type of situation. So. And one thing about those specs, which Mike and I always laugh about because some of them are super old, is you have to look at the processes in that spec, because some of those processes might be outdated, that people really don't do anymore. Product codes probably or could be wrong, as Chemours has made some adjustments over time. So, or that specification, we've seen this where, they have a lot of things defined, and then they'll say apply Silverstone. So Silverstone could be a bunch of things, back in the day. So now we're back to kind of, walking through, a little bit of the product, definition, what product is going to be on that part.
All right, gentlemen. So obviously this is not a product selection episode. That's the whole training module in and of itself. So Mike, if I can put you on the spot, I'm looking for the ideal coating for a particular job. Give me 3 things I need to consider when I go to select a product.
Wow, 3 things only. I'll give you 3 groups.
All right.
How about that? So I think the first one would be process environment. So where is this part going to be performing? Temperatures, chemicals, abrasion, does it need to be food grade, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Number 2, performance. What performance is the end user looking for on that part? Is it durability? Is it low friction? Is it chemical resistance? Is it non-stick? Is all those kind of inherent properties. And we always say, typically people pick more than one property, because if just one thing was needed, they'd probably find something else as a cheap substitute. So understand what performance is needed in primary and secondary, and that will really help to narrow that down.
Okay.
The last one is history. And I think the key thing there is what's been tried in the past, because many times the successes and failures of the past lead us to something better in the future. So we always love to know what was used in the past, and the other key there is it helps you understand the price point, what was used in the past. So it's something that was not in kind and super cheap versus something that was in kind, another type of fluoropolymer that's a very high-end system. It will kind of help you land of maybe where your price should be.
Okay. All right. So you've helped us get away from a plethora of options down to maybe 2 or 3. But something that I hear you guys say around here all the time is you never leave someone with just one product. Why is that?
That's something I think that was ingrained in me early on that I've tried to put into the sales team here. And I think the reason that we tell people to always have more than one product choice is because it helps keep liability away from you, whether it's us as the material provider or you as the coder. The last thing you want to do is have someone come back and go, here's the coating you told me to use and it failed and it caused this issue at my facility or with my customer. And so we always like to give more than one option, and we always tell people to also test a part, test a coupon, do something to validate the recommendation, because that's all it is. It's a recommendation. Many times we're all doing this stuff on the fly, by phone, by email. It's rare that we actually see the part in the environment to have all the data. So I think just in terms of protecting yourself, it's smart to pick more than one coating.
Pick more than one. Obviously, little tests so that we don't have a pitfall. The quote itself, tell me, Wolf, what are some common pitfalls that could compromise a quote?
I mean, one thing we see a lot, and when our customers are calling us, and we do land on a coating, and they start going through square footage and things like that. One factor that we have to factor in is transfer efficiency. Is understanding that part, how much am I spraying to waste versus what's going on the part, and we always feel like, in a lot of cases, and we always try to go conservative, and they always overstate it. Like we're always trying to be like, if you're better, that's great. But it's like you don't want to go in. I'm going to get 80% on that thing, no problem. It's a square or a rectangle,
right?
But it's perforated, or something like that, where they totally overstate that, and now they're doing the back pedal.
Gotcha. All right. Hard for us to give broad advice. We're talking about specific jobs, specific estimations. What do people do if they have questions that are lingering that weren't answered in this episode?
I mean, you can always contact us. Email, call. We're gotten more into the cell phone deal now with the transition versus the the Intech Direct number.
Yeah,
but
you didn't have a cell phone before.
I did. But, I guess the Intech number maybe was a little bit more interactive at the time, and people knew it. And it's funny, I still remember that number, but I don't know the number here. So just to
we'll put it up. We'll put it up on the screen. Obviously, they can get in touch and call you. But actually, the genesis of this episode stemmed from what, Mike? There's another option out there too.
Training.
Yeah,
it was training. I mean, so if you have new people in any of those situations, whether it's a new person to the organization or a person that's moved into an estimating role, and you want to have on-site training, we love to do it. It's basically like the old I3. We can come to your facility, customize the agenda to meet the exact needs of your audience, and plug people in and out for different parts of the day. It's a really good use of time for us and for our audience.
Sure thing, yeah. Now, that is one hell of an offer, and make sure you take advantage of it. So please call these guys if you have questions. Schedule your own I3 training. It's a phenomenal program. And one thing I wanted to tell our audience, too, is the more we talk about this stuff, we've kind of built up this back catalog there on YouTube of industrial deep dives that could really benefit people's companies too. So please like and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Go back, check out our past episodes. There's a backlog of information that's really worth its weight.
And Wolfie plugged his transfer efficiency one a moment ago. I don't know if anybody noticed that.
Yeah.
If you do, you get a free gallon of thinner.
Wow. There's something we can't really pass up.
Well, you can get a single gallon now. I didn't used to be able to do that, so.
That's why we tune in. But yeah, there's a wealth of information there on the Fluorogistics Deliver More YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. Like and subscribe. You'll be helping us out. Thank you both for helping me out today. This was a really informative episode.
Appreciate it, Nick. Thanks for having us. Again, it's always good. It's easy to talk about this stuff because we do it. We've done it every day for him 20 plus years, me almost 15.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have a forum and get that information out there to people.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. And thank you for watching. Thank the crew from Intech MKT for putting this whole thing together. We're going to see you on the next episode of Deliver More from Delaware. Bye-bye now.